Let's explore autistic history and the Autism Wars. This is part 45 of a series. So we just did a roundup review in the last video. We covered 13 years of history with Autism Network International and autistic activist Jim Sinclair. Now we're going to bump over onto the autism community side and what these parent-founded autism organizations that are exploding throughout the 90s and 2000s, and take a look at what they were doing during this era as well. I'm going to share with you part 2 of an article or a series I started last year or the year before titled Inventing the Autism Inventing and then Cashing in on the Autism Epidemic. And this is available on internationalbadassactivist.org. You can search for it. It's kind of a mess over there right now. My apologies. I haven't had capacity or financing to keep it up, but it should still be searchable, and the archives are still there, as well as this is what I'm going to share with you is available there in text with links to all sorts of resources as well from there. So this is the section Autism, a real epidemic or better counting? All right, let's get started. Hollywood magic and celebrities for awareness were instrumental in bringing attention to autism in the late 90s, while John Shaystack spoke proudly of Air Force One as an $85 million trailer for Cure Autism Now. Many other parents were launching their own autism organizations and rallying parents of autistics to their autism belief system. So the noise and mystery these parents and organizations created around autism captured the interest of the general public, and soon autism, a word most had known until the movie Rain Man, entered the public conversation. Autistics born before this new wave of parent advocates emerged were often referred to by the autism community as the lost generation. Isn't that interesting? Knowing the 13 years of history with Autism Network International, they are saying this generation of autistics is a lost generation, acting as if we weren't known and we were lost to the autisms forever, while simultaneously telling us to be quiet and stay out of the public conversation. Anyhow, I digress. I need more coffee. All right, back then, autism was presented as an American horror story. It was described as if it were a boogeyman that kidnapped children's humanity, and parents were left with a shell of a child who was now locked inside their mind. Each organization had their own theory on the cause of autism and how to recover or cure autistic children. Some parents evolved into autism experts and built businesses around their advocacy work. They created websites, hosted conferences, published books, formed private and public online groups. They sought out parents of newly diagnosed autistic children or parents who suspected their child might be autistic, and then funneled them into their forums and their support networks. Oh yeah, each of them wanted to be the loudest voice on autism heard in the nation. The leadership in these organizations often implied they knew more than most doctors about the rise in autism prevalence. They insisted there was an autism epidemic, and all they needed All they had to do was have scientists investigate this phenomenon and then prove them right. Yeah, so they wanted to be proven right, and you can't forget, there's a clock ticking on this. Oh boy, the stress. Every day more autistics were being born, thus catapulting society into an even bigger public health crisis. Do you see what was going to happen here with us autistics being born at much higher rates than they ever knew could happen before? Oh, goodness. All right, all of that in a public health crisis. Well, maybe. Let's see, while everyone in the autism community insisted there was an autism epidemic in progress, they didn't all agree on the cause of autism or the potential cures. The autism community was divided and viciously battling one another to be heard, believed, and get their agendas funded. Many types of autism were being spoken about. Terms like classic autism, late onset autism, and acquired autism were being used. Classic autism was present at birth. You were born autistic and would live your entire life autistic with this type of autism. Many parents insisted their child wasn't born autistic, but became autistic after that round of preventative medications that they take when they are young. You know what I'm saying? I can't see the wood here. Anyhow, they thought they got or became autistic after these MMRs. Yes? This wasn't classic autism. This was a newly invented. This is a new autism altogether. And it was this new autism that was responsible for the sharp uptick in autism prevalence. So now we don't just have autism, we have a new kind of autism. It's different than the classic autism from before. It was this autism that was contributing to this incredible world-ruining number of autistics being born. So late onset or acquired autism happened to children who were born neurotypical or normal. Genetics wasn't at fault here. Instead, environmental toxins were the culprit. Genetics wasn't at fault, but environmental toxins. Okay, so lots of attention was given to mercury and the MMO and DTaP medications that these kids got. Many parents believe these were the villains that caused autism and stole their child. They were angry and demanded the government investigate this connection, with so many parents reporting about their child's regression after getting these MMRs. It couldn't just be a correlation. It had to be the cause, right? So this sub-community of the autism community, this is one of the fronts, would insist that they weren't anti-MMRs, they were pro-safe MMRs. I can't say that V word. Anyhow, regardless of the proof of the safety, these parents were convinced that that's what did it. Perhaps there was an especially, this is how they explain that, perhaps there was an especially vulnerable population of children who didn't tolerate them and became autistic afterwards. So it's not just all autistics, it's this new autism, and only some extra vulnerable children would get it this way, is what they're saying. So guess what? Health insurance won't cover complementary alternative medicine approaches to recover a child to be not autistic. Yeah, that's not all they won't cover, but I'm going to wrap up this video right here, and we're going to jump right back into this era with the autism community in the next video. So thank you very much for exploring a bit more autistic history with me.